Mary Church Terrell's father, Robert Reed Church, was the first African American millionaire in the South and a major philanthropist in Memphis. Her mother, Louisa Ayers Church, owned her own hair salon patronized by the elite of the African American community. Both were former slaves who rose from slavery to prosperity through hard work and determination, qualities they passed on to their daughter Mary, born in 1863, whom we at Lyles Station Historic School and Museum recognize today, February the 11th, 2025, for her dedication to advancing civil rights and women's rights. She, like her parents, used her social status and wealth to fight racial discrimination and promote women's suffrage. Mary's parents sent her to Antioch College Model School for Children, a private elementary school in Yellow Springs, Ohio, since they considered Memphis schools to be second-rate, then on to Oberlin College Academy for high school, and then to the prestigious Oberlin College in Ohio, the first American college to admit African American students and grant degrees to women in coed programs. Mary Church thrived at Oberlin, where she served as the editor of the Oberlin Review and majored in the classics. Her classmates elected her to 2 literary societies and named her as class poet. Oberlin also introduced her to the work of suffragist and social activist Susan B. Anthony. Church was one of the first African American women to graduate with a bachelor's degree in 1884, later completing her master's in 1888. She taught at Wilberforce College for 2 years, then moved to Washington, D.C., where she taught high school and met her future husband. Mary Church's life was filled with firsts. The M Street School, founded in 1870, was the first African American public school in the U.S. and was known for its rigorous curriculum and stellar faculty. Church, one of those stellar faculty members, taught Latin at M Street. She could have easily have taught French or German as well, since she was fluent in both. Mary Church became Mary Church Terrell when she married Robert H. Terrell in 1891 in Memphis. Following their wedding, the couple made their home in Washington, D.C., where her husband later made history as the first African American municipal court judge in our nation's capital, and she was active in the women's rights movement, serving as the first president of the National Association of Colored Women. She originated the group's slogan, "Lifting as We Climb." She was also a charter member of the NAACP, which she co-founded in 1896. A year after their wedding, the lynching of the owners of the People's Grocery in Memphis shocked and outraged Terrell. One of the men, Thomas Moss, was her friend. He was also friends with Ida B. Wells, and together the 2 women from socially and economically different backgrounds started an anti-lynching movement. Terrell accompanied Frederick Douglass to the White House, where they hoped to convince President Benjamin Harrison to denounce the lynching. He refused. Although Terrell essentially enjoyed a privileged lifestyle, she was still affected by the racially segregated medical system in D.C. Sadly, she and her husband lost 3 children during their first 5 years of marriage, deaths she blamed upon the insufficient medical care they received in the segregated hospitals. The couple did welcome their daughter Phyllis in 1893, and she grew up to work alongside her mother in the civil rights and women's suffrage movements. While she focused her early work primarily on women's suffrage and civil rights, she also contributed to political campaigns, working for the election of her fellow suffragist, Republican Ruth Hannah McCormick, the first female Senate candidate for a major political party. Her regular column, Up to Date, appeared in the Chicago Defender newspaper from 1927 to 1929. She was also the first African American female appointed to the school board in Washington, D.C., a rarity in any major city throughout the states. In 1940, Terrell wrote and published her autobiography, A Colored Woman in a White World, in which she vowed to continue her role as an activist. And she did. After suing the American Association of University Women for discrimination in 1848 and winning, she became the first African American admitted to the Washington chapter. When she was 86, she took on the John R. Thompson restaurant in Washington, D.C. She, along with other diners, were kicked out of the dining establishment because they weren't white. She helped to organize picket lines, boycotts, sit-ins, and surveys, which led to the lawsuit that reached the Supreme Court in 1953 that ruled segregation unconstitutional in dining facilities in D.C. She returned to Thompson's for a victory meal after the Supreme Court decision. Terrell died when she was 90, 2 months after the Brown v. Board of Education Supreme Court ruling ending segregation in schools. Her life was devoted to ending racial discrimination and advancing the causes of women. Her home in Washington, D.C., the Mary Church Terrell House, is now listed as a National Historic Landmark.